Taf Lamed Dalet Amud Beis, the Mishnah towards the top of the Amud. So the Mishnah, and the son of Bereisha, Kana Bereisha Kundas, if you put the Erev on top of a Kana, on top of a reed, or on top of a pole, Bismanshu Tolish knows if the reed was detached from the ground. So it's not anymore Mechuber L'Karka, it's detached from the ground, and then it was stuck back into the ground. Afil Gavaya Kufama Hareza Erev. Even if it's 100 amas high, it's an Erev. So why is it a valid Erev? So we have two issues over here. One issue is that it has to be Hu Ve'eruv Mokem Echad. So what we're talking about over here is the top of the pole. Either we're talking about that the top of the pole or top of the reed is not Dalet al Dalet. So therefore, even if it is high, even if 100 high, even if it's that high, and it's 100 amas high, but if it doesn't have a Mokem Dalet al Dalet, it's a Mokem Patur. So therefore, even if he is Niskavan Lishvei Slamata in the Rishus Harabim, the Erev is still accessible because the Erev is on a Mokem Patur, and it's permitted to take the Erev to and from the Mokem Patur, so it's Hu Ve'eruv Mokem Echad. Now, if the reed was growing from the ground, you'd have another issue. You'd have another issue in that it's a tree, and you can't be mishtamish l'ila. And that's why the Mishnah says that if it's now been detached from the ground, it's been removed from the ground, it's uprooted, and now you stuck it back in, it's not mechuber l'karka, it's not growing from the ground, so therefore you don't have the gzeira of the mishtamish b'ilan, and therefore you don't have that iser. So we have the two considerations. One is you can't be mishtamish in ilan, and two is that the Erev has to be accessible to him, has to be Hu B'Malka Ve'eruv Mokem Echad. So we can simply say that the case is talking where it's not Dalet al Dalet, so the Mokem Patur. However, according to Rashi, he says we are going according to the Man Domer that an Erev has to be on a Mokem Choshev, which is Dalet al Dalet. So he says the case is talking where on the top of it is Choshev, it has Dalet al Dalet, but the rest of it below, it's not Dalet al Dalet, it's less than that, so it's still considered a Mokem Patur. Taisa says we're not going according to the Man Domer that an Erev has to be on a Mokem Choshev of Dalet al Dalet. Zakta Gemara, Ramilei Ravada Bar Masal Rava, Tolish V'Noatzin, it's only if the reed was detached and then stuck back in, but like Tolish V'Noatz loy, but it hasn't been uprooted, not. So what's the problem? If it's not been uprooted, then it's growing from the ground. It's Mechuber L'Karka, it's a tree, and it's also Midrabanan, L'Shtamish B'ilan. But according to Rebbe, the Kol Dam Nishum Shus L'Gozer Bein Hashmashos, and you shouldn't have a problem anyway because the kinyan of the Erev is Bein Hashmashos, and it's not also at that time. We don't impose the Yisur the Rabbanan Bein Hashmashos, so Mani Rabbanani. So this Mishnah must be going according to the Rabbanan. The Amri Kol Davar Shum Shus Gozer Bein Hashmashos. So we must say that this Mishnah is going according to the Rabbanan, not like Rebbe, who says that they were Geyser Ashus Bein Hashmashos. So therefore, the Erev is not accessible. Vamad Reisha Rebbe, but the Mishnah before on Lamed base we learned was going according to Rebbe. Reisha Rebbe, the Sefer Rabbanan. Should we say that the previous Mishnah, the Reisha, was Rebbe and this is Rabbanan? He asks this kasha. V'shana, he answered, yes, Reisha Rebbe, the Sefer Rabbanan. That's what we have to say. That's going according to two different opinions. Ravina has another approach. He says, Kula Rebbe, he can say that it's all going according to Rebbe. So why is it also over here? Because we're afraid over here that the Rabbanan made this Gzeira, even though normally they weren't Geyser, Gzeira Ben Hashmashos, and Dov Mishmashus, they weren't Geyser. But over here, there's more of a reason to be chayshish. We're afraid that while he's trying to get the Erev, he'll cut off part of the reed. He'll break off a piece, which is kaitzer. So over here, there's a special gzeira in such a case because it's more likely that in the act of trying to get the Erev, not only will it be mishtamish b'ilan, but he'll break off a piece of the twig of the reed, and therefore it'll be kaitzer. So therefore, over here we were geyser. The Rishonim has a kasha. Lo Yitzur, he does break it off. Why should that be a reason to be geyser? It's a davar shein miskaven. And a davar shein miskaven, and l'char it's not a psik reisha. So the Ritva brings the Rashba. He says that, but we are concerned that he'll intentionally break it off. It'll make it easier for him to access the Eruv, so perhaps he'll intentionally break it off. He asks, it's still some loch shein stricha legufa. So he says that no, perhaps breaking it off also stimulates the growth. It's like an act of zaymer. So perhaps over here he'll intentionally break off a piece of the reed to make the Eruv accessible, because it's easier to get to the Eruv, and that will also stimulate the growth. So therefore it'll be an act of a kaitzer, and when he cuts it off, even if he doesn't need the twig, but it'll be an act of zayreya. It'll cause the growth, stimulate the growth. So even if he doesn't need the piece that he breaks off, and as far as kaitzer, it's not a malacha d'oraisa, but it would be as far as zayreya, and therefore over here our machmir, Ravina suggests to say that we're machmir even according to Rebbe. Ha'upul Musa Dosel in the Nahar, that there was an army, some troops, some soldiers came to the Nahar. Amaluhu Rav Nachman said to the Talmidim, Puku Avidu Kavushi Kavshi Bagla. Make a place for us to stay in the marsh, a place for us that we can gather together. And therefore he said, press down the reeds on the marsh. Well, tomorrow we'll be able to have a place to sit. We'll have our base medrash over there. How is this permitted? Some say that it was Rav Ukva bar Nachman Abba who asked the kasha. In our Mishnah says that the reed, it's only permitted if it's been detached, if it's been uprooted and then put back in. But well, I know it's loy, but if not, the reed is moksa. You cannot use, you can't be mishtamish with the reed. It's also midrabanan, it's considered like a tree. There in the Mishnah, when we say that the reed would be also, it's when they're hard. When they're hard, they have a din of the tree. They're included in the gzeira of trees, that it's also mishtamish li'ila. Over here, these reeds are soft. They're treated like grass. They're not considered like a tree. Where do we see a difference, whether they're hard or not hard? The Sanya we learn in the Brisa, if you have reeds and you have atadim bushes or higin or thorn bushes, min ilan ein vein kilayim vein kilayim bekerem. They're considered like trees, and therefore to plant them together in a vineyard, it's not considered kilayim. It's also to plant other vegetables in a kerem, but to plant trees, it's not considered a tree. So there's no kilayim. It's not considered kilayim to plant the trees together with a kerem. It's also the kilayim is different types of grains, different types of vegetables, but not trees. The Tanya Yidach, we have another braysa, konim. It says konim va'kidim va'arubanim. It says if you have konim and you have a kidin, konim va'kidin, and you have like cinnamon, a type of tree or bark that produces cinnamon, and va'arubanim, and willows, a type of willows, min yerikain. These are considered min yerik. Ve'hein kalayim b'kerem, and they are considered to be kalayim in the kerem. So kasha daughter, we have a stira. When we have kanim in the first brayse, we treat it like trees. Here we treat it like yerakas, like vegetables. Elishmami no, kanvuz radim, kanvenshuz radim. Shmami no. So how do we answer this? How do we resolve this? We must differentiate whether they're hard or not. If they're hard, they're considered like trees. If they're soft, they're considered like yerakas. Here also, if they're hard, they go into the gzeira of asur l'shtamash bilon shabbos. If they're soft, they're considered like grass, and there's no issue. So as on a side note, we mentioned kida, v'kida min yeriko. We mean to say that kida is a type of vegetable. V'atan, we learned in the Mishnah, ein markivin pegam al gabi kida levona. You cannot be markiv, graft. You cannot graft on together with it a pigam on a kida levona. So you see over here that we see that it's not considered a yerek, or it's considered a tree, Mipneishu yerek be'ilan, because it says that it's considered a yerek and a yerek together with an ilan, so you can't graft the two together. So therefore, you see that the pigam is considered a vegetable, but the kida is considered to be a tree. So is that a steer? Before we said the kida is considered to be a yerek, here we said it's considered an ilan. Amar papa kida lechud v'kida levana lechud. Over here it says ein markim pigal gabe kida levana, a white one. That's considered to be a white one. Is considered to be an ilan. Before it's stam, the general term of kida, not the specific one, and that is considered to be a yerek. Zok the Mishnah, Nasana b'migdal v'avaram of teach. He put the erev in a migdal in a closet, and the key is lost. Harei the erev. Nevertheless, it is an erev, so it's still considered an erev. Rabbi Elazar but Rabbi Elazar says if you don't know where the key is, or you don't know that it's in its proper place, then it's not considered an erev. So the question is, why does the Tanna Kama consider it an erev? How is the erev accessible to him if the migdal is lost and the migdal is locked rather, and the key is lost? So how is the erev accessible to him? Frank the Gemara, and that's Gemara's Kashva Maya, who b'makim echad Eruvin, makim achir, who he and his erev are in different places. L'chera, the erev is not accessible. Why is it a valid eruv? More answers, Rabbi Shmuel Damar Tavayach b'migdal shel alaveinu maskina. We're talking where the closet was made out of bricks. It's made out of bricks, and it was not cemented in, so it was loose bricks. It was made out of bricks that weren't cemented. And therefore, the question is, can you break the closet? Rav Meir says this is not considered a problem of being soiser, of dismantling, of demolishing. It's made out of bricks that were not cemented together. So he says you're allowed to, the l'chadchila, break it open. So therefore, even if the key is lost, but it's still considered accessible because you can break open a hole, make an opening, and retrieve the erev. This non by Shemelayo Paris, also if the house was filled with Paris and it was sealed on Yom before Yontiv, so now you can't get to the Paris. V'niftach v'noitel mimakom apchas. And if it was broken open on Yontiv, then you're allowed to take the pears from the makam of the b'chas. You're allowed to take the pears from the opening. So if it was broken open, so now you can take the pears. Why you can take the pears? Because they're not considered muksa. We don't consider the pears muksa because we are talking, as the Rishonim speak out, the Rashi speaks out, we're talking where it was very shaky, and the anticipation is that it might likely become available on Yom Tov, so it's not mekatza das, and the parents are not muksa. But Rameir says you can even break it l'chadchila. It's not only if it was broken open. You're even allowed to break it open and take the food, because there's no isur, even the Rabbanon, there's not even an isur to break it open. In this type of a case, it's not even also even midrabanan to break it open and make a hole. So therefore, over here also, we're going to the sheet of Rav Meir, and we're talking in this type of a migdal, and therefore it is accessible. It is because you can break it open and get the erev. He said that case is only talking where it's not cemented together, and that's why Rameir says it's mutter. Where it says we have to qualify our Mishnah as saying it's not talking about all migdalas. It's talking in a specific case where it's not cemented together. But he says, but Rav Meir, who is matter, Rav Meir is only matter this on Yontiv and not on Shabbos. Even the Rav Meir said that making the hole, there's no Isser, even the Rabbanan, of breaking open the migdal, but the bricks, nevertheless, are muksa. So beyontiv, this heter, it's only mutar on yontiv where we're mekel with the muksa. Since we're mekel with muksa for eichel nefesh, we're mekel in the case over here is muksa as well. But on Shabbos, even Reb Meir would say that it's also, so therefore l'chayra, the erev should not be accessible. One answer is hachanami beyontiv and hachanami, that this our Mishnah the Tanakama says that it's a kosher erev. We're talking about an erev for yontiv. We're not talking about an erev for Shabbos. We're talking about an erev for yontiv. Frank the Gemara, Yachi, Hainu the Tanillah, if that's the case. But the Brisa said on the Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer Oimer, Im be'ir avad eruv eruv. If the key was lost in the city, the erev is valid because it's accessible, because he can bring the key to him. He can bring it to him, as we'll see in the Gemara. This is going with the shlit of Rav Shimon. So he can transport it by the way of rooftops and karpipes and chatzeres, and therefore the key is accessible. But if it's talking in a field, and we mean over here, what we mean by field over here is like the carbon sanal and smucham. The Gemara is a reshus rabbi. Im besoda of it ain't eruv eruv, but if it's in a reshus rabbim, it's not a valid eruv because the key is not accessible. Now, beyontiv, if we're talking about yontiv, mali or mali soda. If we're talking about a yontiv, what's the difference? On yontiv, it's mutar to carry, and therefore it's accessible. So there should be no chiluk. What would be the difference? So doesn't that show we were talking about Shabbos and not yontiv? The Gemara says, chasuri mechser v'al. We have to insert this missing part of the brisa as follows. If you put the erev in the migdal and he locked it, and the key is lost, it's still a valid erev because he can demolish the migdal. When is that said? That's by yont, where over there it's permitted to demolish it, so the erev is successful. On the Shabbos, an eruv. But on Shabbos, the bricks are muksa, so therefore the erev is not accessible. It's not an erev. Nimsa mafteach. If you found the key, bein be'ir, bein besoda. If you found the key, so now on Shabbos, where if you didn't find the key, it's also. But if you found the key, bein be'ir, bein besoda, ein eruva eruv. The eruv is not a valid eruv. Nevertheless, even though you found the key, it's still not a valid eruv, according to the Tanakhama. Why? Because you can't carry it. So it's still not accessible. So the eruv is not an eruv. Rabbi Lezer says, Be'ir, eruv eruv, he says, in the city, the eruv is a valid eruv. It is accessible to him. Why? As we'll see shortly, that he holds like Rav Shimon, the echad gagas, v'echad chatzeres, echad karpipus, or rishus echad. You can transport it from a rooftop to a karpif to a chatzer, so therefore it's accessible. Basada, but in this field, which is a rishus harabim, in a eruv eruv, because you can't transport it. So the more explains, Be'ir, eruv eruv, Rav Shimon, do Amar, echad gagas, v'echad chatzeres, v'echad karpipus, all these areas are rishus achas, hein l'kelim sheshavsu b'seichen. They're all considered one rishus for kelim that were in this rishus, in these areas, in the chatzer, the karpip. When on the onset of Shabbos, it's considered all one. You can carry from one to the other. Therefore, you can transport the key to the eruv. Besada einu ruevu aruv karabanan. But in the field, it's not an eruv. So therefore, you saw it's not an eruv. The key is not accessible to him. He cannot transport it. And this is going according to the sheet of the Rabbanan. Now, which sheet of the Rabbanan are we referring to? I mean, certainly you can't carry in a Rishus HaRabim. It's going according to the sheet of the Rabbanan that we do not allow him to carry it pachas me'arba amas. And we don't say it will be permitted to carry at intervals of less than dalet amas, and then have somebody else take it from him, and have somebody take it another short interval and then pass it from one person to the other and bring it to the erev. So this is going according to the Rabbanan as opposed to Rav Shimon, who does allow this. This is going to the Rabbanan who do not. And therefore, that if it's in the Rishus HaRabim, the erev is not accessible. So l'chayr, it will come out according to this brisa that on Yontiv the Tanakama holds that the erev is accessible even if you don't find the key, and it's still accessible because it's mutter to break it open. But Rabbi Lezer says, no, if you don't find the key, it's also because you can't break it open. If it's on Shabbos, Rabbi Lezer holds, the Rabbi Lezer, the Brisa holds that if it's in the gagais or chatzeres or karpefes, if it's in the ear, then it's mutter because it's accessible. The Rabbanan hold that if it's on Shabbos, it's not, because we do not allow you to carry from one to the other. If it's in the Rishus Harabim, then everyone holds, both Mandamer of the Bryce hold, it's not accessible, and it's not an Eruv. So it seems to be Mashvam Rashi that Rabbi Lezer in the Mishnah, however, would not permit the Eruv. Rabbi Lezer in the Mishnah says, Ein Eruv Eruv, it's not an Eruv. It would be mashma that Rabbi Lezer in the Mishnah would hold that it doesn't matter if it is the Eruv, it's on Yom Tov or Shabbos, that if the key is lost, that it is also to carry, and even on Shabbos it would be, if you found the key, it would be also to carry. If you found the key on Shabbos, it's also to carry, which is not like Rabbi Lezer's the Brisa that says if you found the key on Shabbos, it's mutter to carry if it's in the ear. Other Rishonim say that we don't have to differentiate between Rabbi Lezer the Mishnah and Rabbi Lezer the Brisa. But upon him, this is the basic machlokes that we have. If you are allowed to break open the migdal, and number one, that's the first machlokes l'gabe Yom Tov, and then if you found the key l'gabe Shabbos, do we hold like Rosh Shimon that it's accessible because do we consider echad gagas chaseres kapipos to be rishus hachas?